Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Kevin. Today we'll be reacting to Camille Vasquez on Amber Heard. This is a person that burns bridges.
Witnesses presented the most challenges for your team?
She didn't have many live witnesses, right? I would say it was probably Dr. Hughes.
The main opinion is that Ms. Heard's report of intimate partner violence and the records that I reviewed is consistent with what we know in the field about intimate partner violence, characterized by physical violence, psychological aggression, sexual violence, coercive control, and surveillance behaviors.
I think Whitney, her sister, we were concerned about that, but I think Rebecca did a fantastic job, and she was very ill, as you might recall. But I think she did a really beautiful job of showing the jury that these were two sisters that truly cared for one another and were going to support each other no matter what, in a delicate, really graceful way.
And she helped support you? In part. I also was working myself, and yeah. And you're grateful to her for being there when you needed her, right? Of course. And just like she protected and cared for you, you want to protect and care for her, right? And when I can, of course, but yeah.
And as you mentioned, most...
Man, you know, these lawyers, man, life is not fair. Like, I hope I never have to go to court because, like, these people, they're way too smart. And the way they ask you questions is like, you think, oh, I'm just answering a question. Like, oh, so you'll be there for your sister no matter what? Yeah. Oh, even in court, you're willing to lie for her?
Most of Amber's witnesses weren't live, including some of her friends. Why do you think that is?
I think, as we said in closing arguments, this is a person that burns bridges.
Sitting here today, do you still consider Ms. Heard a friend?
I wouldn't consider her not a friend.
What does that mean?
We don't speak. We are not enemies.
When did you first tell Ms. Heard that you were no longer interested in having her as a client and being friends with her?
Well, I just told Amber that, I wish her well and I just have no interest in continuing a relationship.
I don't think these people were her friends anymore. And I understand they testified the way they did, but most of them had already given testimony during the divorce, had been deposed during the case, and so they were locked in to a version of what they claim happened. And that's not to say that they were lying or not telling the truth. Something else that's really important to note here is none of these people saw abuse, not one.
One of my favorite parts of the trial was...
Well, let's see, she has to keep clearing up people. That's the thing. Once you make a statement in the court of law, then you have to stick by it. You can't then be like, hey, in my last statement, I didn't say this, because then it's like you're lying. And if you're lying, they call it perjuring yourself. See, this is why I don't like playing with these lawyers, man. It's like, I missed out. Like, I want to come clean, and then if I come clean now, I gotta go to jail? Hell no, I'm not gonna say anything.
Watching you keep your finger on the microphone. And you would literally object to every question Elaine Bredhoff asked.
Trying to say that...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
He was drinking...
Calls for speculation, leading.
To sedate
Objection,
me?
Your Honor, hearsay.
Did the table collapse?
Yes, it did.
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Because he didn't share it until this date.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Was that dark colors before, or?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
I said, was that dark colors before?
I'll sustain the objection.
There was no way we...
Yo, that's one of the craziest things. I think I'll just be like, so is your name Kevin? Objection, Your Honor. I don't know, leading. Like, it's a game to them, and that's the thing. It's like, you have to know a lot of things in this world just to survive. Like, how many of us are like thinking we're ever gonna end up in court until you are there, and then you're like, damn, how does this game even work? Like, Amber's like trying to make a point which she feels like is valid, and then like, objection, Your Honor, leading. Like,
could have predicted that redirect was going to go so badly for them. I mean, it really seemed like she had put it together at the last minute. It was some notes that she had on a notepad. There's a part of me that almost feels badly for her as a colleague. What I remember about that redirect was, I think at one point she said, "I'm trying here, I'm trying." And I looked over to that side.
Yo, the lawyer looks way stressed. She's like, man, this was a slam dunk. This was easy. Because a lot of times with these domestic violence cases, they tend to favor the women more than they do the men, right? But then it depends on the client that you have. When you have a client whom, in this case, was Amber Heard, it's very difficult to convince anyone. Like, like, yo, like people are like, yo, yeah, she might have been a victim, but damn, man, like.
And no one was helping her. They were all just, you know, in their seats, looking down, and I felt so badly because our team was incredibly different. They knew every question. They were predicting the answers. They had the evidence, you know, page and line, ready to go. It was just such a different process. I felt supported. It was shocking how ineffective that was.
Why did you tweet about the makeup and Mr. Waldman?
Because he was calling me a liar and a hoaxer and that this was an elaborate hoax just to get Johnny.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question. Next question.
Yeah, okay.
Yo.
I don't have any more questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right. Ma'am, you can have a seat next to your attorney.
How would you evaluate?
Wow. Like, no, you gotta pull this back.
Next question.
Yeah, okay.
She just went through her questions. She's like, listen, if I ask all those questions, you just, damn.
Next question.
Yeah, okay.
Yo, the lawyer is literally speechless. Like, how do you get a lawyer to be speechless? These are one of the smartest human beings on this planet. Like, they're trying to get you, I don't know, in this case, what, to get some money? And she can't even come up with anything. And this is what they do. Like, this lady looks elderly. Means she's been doing this for a long time. Like, she's like, yo, I have no idea what I'm working with here. Look at it. Look at it.
I don't have any more questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right. Ma'am, you can have a seat next to your attorney.
How would you evaluate her as a witness?
I don't think she came off particularly likable or credible. I think the fact that she didn't own up to anything caused major concerns for the jury.
There was evidence of violence, even still. So how would you explain that?
Well, there was a victim of domestic violence in this relationship, and we say it was Mr. Depp. The person that ended up in the hospital after Australia was Johnny Depp. The person with any injury was Johnny Depp. The only person with medical records in this case was Johnny Depp. I mean, it was a violent relationship, except she was the aggressor.
She threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere. And I honestly didn't feel the pain.
He told Dr. Kipper that Amber had cut off his finger. And he said that only to Dr. Kipper as he was treating this bleeding finger. And we thought that qualified for the medical emergency exception to hearsay, and it did not come in. And, you know, to us, that was a key moment, because he didn't want to tell anyone, but he felt he needed to tell his doctor that was literally treating his finger on, you know, in a car, that she had cut it off by throwing a bottle at him.
That's crazy, man. Like, these relationships are just difficult. Like I said in my other video, like, I've been amongst these actors, these people who work in the entertainment industry. Like, trust me, these people just move differently. You approach with caution. They move differently. They operate differently. Nothing is normal. Nothing is everyday conversations. It's like, at a certain point, you're talking to someone. You don't know if it's them or if they're acting, or I'm just like, yo. It makes sense to me why a lot of people who work in the entertainment industry would rather marry outside of the entertainment industry, because within it's just a weird circle, man.
Big part of the case. Ben Chu's still with us, Johnny Depp's lead attorney. Ben, let me ask you this, because I was in the courtroom as well, and there's a gallery, and it's like everyone there was there for Johnny Depp, you know, other than the media who's covering it, but the regular folks who showed up, all for Johnny Depp. You walk outside, people are cheering. Did it feel like a home game? Did it? Because, you know, I grew up playing sports, and you get the crowd going, all of a sudden it helps you, you know, play harder. Does that have any impact on a lawyer in the middle of a trial?
It really didn't, Benny. We were really focusing on Her Honor, the judge, of course, and the jury. And irrespective of what the people were doing outside in the hallway or outside the courtroom, our real focus was on the jury and getting our work done. So it really didn't have the feeling of a home game, as you say, because what we were really focusing on were the people who were going to decide Johnny's fate.
How about this, though? Did it energize you at the end of the day when you get cheered and then you got to go back and do more work to prepare for the next day? Did it give you a little boost of adrenaline, maybe?
That it did. And seeing the alpacas out there dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow and the level of detail and love that was put into the alpacas, yes, it did make it easier to work the late nights back at the hotel.
Nah, man, you should say how much these people were getting paid. That will make you wake up and do your job, plan. Like, man, stop with this. Oh, we saw alpacas. Listen, if you're paying me $1 million to show up, I will show up the best. Because these guys now are just proving themselves. That means any other high case that happens in Hollywood, they're the ones getting hired. And even of cases of people who don't know, who don't really like have the pull for media. Like, you want to be represented by people who know what they're doing, right? So, come on.
So the other big contrast between Johnny Depp testifying and Amber Heard, from my perspective, was the level of comfort. Like, Johnny Depp looked very at ease and comfortable. Amber Heard looked extremely uncomfortable. Why do you think that was while they were testifying?
Well, my perception is Johnny was at ease with himself because he was telling the truth. And even though there was a lot of focus and a lot of pressure on him, at the end of the day, when you're telling the truth, you don't have to remember things. You just tell the truth. And Johnny, you know, at the beginning, we talked about this a little bit last night. He was prepared. We told him that this was going to be an ordeal and that everything was going to, you know, the worst recesses of his life were going to be exposed. And I think once he steeled himself to that, he was confident that he was doing the right thing and that he was going to tell the truth. And I think that gave him some peace. I mean, he has an amazing way of finding humor in the macabre. I mean, when his finger was cut off, for example, and we would all look down, you know, out of respect, and he would say, "Oh, I call it Little Richard." You know, I mean, he has a nickname for his finger, and that's just the kind of guy he is. He finds humor. He wants to put other people at ease, and you know, at the end of the day, I think he came across as who he actually is.
Big difference. I mean, stark contrast. All right, Ben Chu's going to stay with us. When we come back, we will have more of Chanley Painter's interview with Camille Vasquez. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, man. Like, I feel, yeah, for Johnny Depp, he did come out as likable from this case because he was just free and he was just speaking. And it's more of like, if you're a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, if you're a fan of Johnny Depp in general, and then you got to see him express himself and be honest about the things that happened between them. And then you also realize that he probably did some things, you know, like he's not innocent. But the thing is, I think people relate to someone who's just being honest. And for Amber, I feel like her biggest mistake was the performance. Like, she didn't have to perform. If she had been truthful about what had happened and just taken ownership on the things that had happened, then people would have probably been able to like her more. Because for me, personally, like, this is someone that I was a fan of. When I watched the Aquaman the first one. I became a fan of Amber because I really liked the character, and I just hoped that the character and the actress is the same person outside of it. And then for her not to be the same, it was just like, damn, man, what's this? You know, but the main thing for me outside of this case that I learned, it's these lawyers, man, they're not really your friends. Like they're out to, it's not like they're out to get you, but they know what they're doing. And you gotta be prepared. Don't show up with a game plan. Just show up to tell the truth and hope for the best. Because that's all you can do. These people, they know what they're doing. These people have been doing this for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying Amber Heard was performing or it was whatever. We all know what you do. You be the judge. But what I know is when you're dealing with people who've been doing this for a long time, you just gotta be prepared and show up and just do what you can, because that's the judge's job. That's the jury's job, to be neutral and to see things for what they are. The moment you're trying to influence and create situations that don't exist, you're making a mess, man. With that said, hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. Let me know what you thought of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, and I'll definitely be seeing you in the next one.